And now it's time for Church Chat.
Welcome, friends, to another edition of the St. John's Church Chat. It's a great joy to welcome you today and to welcome you to worship as we continue to offer praise and thanksgiving to God in this new digital format. It's been a wonderful thing to see how many participants we have in our worship, and to receive messages over the last couple of weeks from folks who are worshiping as far away as, I think, Monmouth, Wales is the furthest destination we've reached, but who knows? It's all out there in the ether, available to the whole world on the internet. So perhaps we'll find ourselves celebrities by the end of this. Wonderful to be joined here by Shane and Bill and Deb, and we're going to talk to you just a little bit about some of the things that are happening at St. John's, but also around the world, some interesting sites that we can visit and can do so remotely. Shane, you mentioned that.
Yeah, well, there's a few things we've been putting up on our Facebook feed this week, one of which is a site called Religion Unplugged. So the link is across the bottom of the screen here. But it's kind of neat. You can do a virtual tour of some key holy places around the world, including Westminster Abbey and the Holy Land itself. So if you want to escape from your living room for a bit, from the comfort of your couch, you can visit those places pretty inexpensively.
Certainly save some money on airfare and be cleaner for the environment in that way as well. One of the things that we've been considering this week, of course, is Earth Day and our thankfulness for God's good creation. You'll find on the website of the Diocese of Toronto, which is going to appear on your screen right about now, that there are some prayer resources that you can use as individuals or as families to give thanks for the goodness of God's creation, and to pray also for our stewardship and an increased awareness of our union with all of creation, all of the natural world. Of course, we're seeing lots of evidence of that during this time of COVID-19, how much of an impact we have had on the natural environment, and some of it returning to more of a state of nature with the absence of human impact. Which brings to mind actually another little story from our parish this week. Those of you with access to Facebook may have seen a photo making the rounds of a bear on Princess Street in Port Hope. Well, you may not know that that photo that's gone a little bit viral here locally was actually taken by our very own Stephen Wright. And Steve and Catherine Lees were interviewed by CBC Radio 1 earlier this week by Jill Deacon, talking about this nature sighting that they've had on Princess Street. So that was just a wonderful moment of joy to be able to hear some familiar voices on the radio and to know that Port Hope really is actually carving out a pretty decent media presence for ourselves, if I do say so myself. Yeah. CBC, all roads lead to Port Hope. I've been saying it for years now. So we give God thanks for that. On the topic of giving thanks, you'll remember last week, if you watched our church chat, that Penny Nutbrown is working very hard to collect all of the parish Thanksgivings that we have. And she's going to create a physical chain of gratitude that's going to go around the front of the church. And last week we were joking that maybe we'll make sure that Penny has her work cut out for her, that we'd make a circle around the whole perimeter of the building, all of those things for which parishioners are grateful during this time. And there's much to be thankful for. So please, if you'd like to participate, do send Penny an email, and that's going to appear on your screen now. Prayers of gratitude. Now, speaking of praying and praying together, Bill and Deb have joined us today for our church chat, and they're going to talk a little bit about some of the prayer supports that we're offering.
Sure. One of the we were having a meeting with the lay readers a little while ago, and we were talking about how do we pray for one another, especially during this time. And we've always been able to pray with one another or have our prayer requests sent in. But you used to be able to put a person's name on the list at the back, and the lay readers would make sure they got covered in the service. And of course, we can't do that right now. And we're sort of cognizant that we don't want to have the prayers out on YouTube forever. So Deb and I started talking after that meeting and thought, maybe there are people both in our St. John's community, but also in Port Hope, that maybe would want to pray with somebody, as opposed to just sending in their prayer requests and having people pray at a service for them. And so we've, you'll see in the bulletin that we've offered ourselves as being willing to pray. Deb, you're available for prayer by phone or by Skype or by FaceTime or?
Yes, certainly FaceTime, and I don't think Skype, but FaceTime and certainly phone, absolutely.
So if you or anybody you know feels like you want to have someone pray with you, Shane and Father Jesse and Marnie and Jerry are also available to pray with people. So, you know, offer that to someone if you think that they're struggling with something and they just would need, in some respects, it would just be a listening ear, but also to raise that, you know, their concerns or whatever's on their heart to the Lord. So that's offer.
Thank you. And Deb, you certainly have been steadfast in prayer with families during your work as a hospital chaplain during this time. I wonder if you might share just a little bit about how things have been going for you and your vocation and ministry there.
Yes, thanks, Father Jesse. It's, you know, it's a surreal time. There's so much isolation, there's no visitation coming into the hospital, so that my role has actually moved forward much more so than even before, which is kind of a little bit hard to believe. But we have become family to some of our patients who, of course, are not able to connect except sometimes virtually. We do offer that service, and that's pretty good. That's not a bad thing at all. But there are sacred moments, there are sad moments, but people are getting better, and we are really doing a good job at getting better. And I'm, you know, shout out to Ajax Pickering, because I think we've had a great piece of success. So, you know, that in healing people. So that's an important part that really lifts my heart. Absolutely. But, you know, we do all need prayers for folk in hospital, because it is really a challenging time. This virus is a deadly virus, and it's scary for people. So good news, not all bad news, but again, that sacred space. So a very important piece to keep all of us in prayer as well. That would be great.
Well, certainly. And of course, your interactions and your prayers and your ministry is not just to patients, of course, but also to many of the doctors and the nurses and the other staff, everybody. I mean, we'll pray with anybody, right, Deb?
Yeah.
You know, but it's no, it's really a wonderful example of the reach that the Spirit of prayer has into the wider community, that the Spirit of God has to touch people's lives. And we're so grateful. I hope I can say without embarrassing you too badly, we're so grateful to call you ours, and to know that you join those other parishioners of ours who are very much on the front lines. I'm not going to list them all off, though there are a number of names. So please know that you are kept in my prayers every day, and all of our parishioners who are on the front lines, from, well, I'll say from medical professionals to those who work in grocery stores, those who work in kitchens, in care facilities, and elsewhere. God bless you all, and thank you for your good work during this time. I think I've exhausted actually all of the things I wanted to talk about, believe it or not.
I'd just like to add one thing. When Deb mentioned isolation, I've realized in the last few weeks that isolation was already identified as one of the highest health risks. And so even before COVID, people were not starting to struggle, but were struggling very heavily with isolation and being alone. And so the degree to which that's even heightened, and the degree to which people are struggling with all sorts of things, financial strain and health scares and so on and so on, it's so important that we keep in touch with one another. And so I just want to say how much I appreciate the opportunity we've had to stay connected, not connect with lots of friends online and so on, but be able to connect with my church community has been really valuable and important to me. So if there are any who are feeling like they should be reaching out or want to reach out or need reaching out to, please let us know.
Please do. And nothing has lifted, I can tell you, nothing has lifted my spirits more in the past weeks than having conversations with friends and family. Being able to pick up the phone and call somebody, or being able to see friendly and familiar faces online has been such an enormous blessing. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Well, thank you all very much for joining, and may God bless you this week, and we'll see you again very soon.